What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to do a brief overview and go in depth with the stuff that we went through in the last video. There are a bunch of questions in the comments asking me to explain a little bit more about how to generate power with the 3 methods that we went through. I'm going to use this video to kind of address those things that people were asking for. So let's get right into it. So if you guys remember, we had basically 3 different ways to generate power at any level. It was changing the length of your swing, so taking it from a more vertical motion to a more horizontal motion. We had ways to increase acceleration by using different hinges in the body. And then we also had power generation coming from the ground and different segments of the body. Now, the one that stuck out to me when somebody asked me about it was I mentioned that it was tougher to time when you really start engaging the legs as well as the other parts of the body. That was part 3. So I'm gonna start there and I'm actually gonna work backwards because I think that was actually the most complicated one for some people to understand. When I was talking about generating power from the legs and getting more engagement from the power sources, I mentioned that you wanna work on getting your legs to load more and not just bounce down and up into the swing. Sinking and pushing was the words that I used specifically, or drop and drive. You want to make sure your body weight settles into this position, which gives you the ability to actually incorporate the muscles. So what I was talking about before was not just bouncing up and down into the motion. A lot of people think that just by bending and pushing quickly, they get a lot of force. But your legs are capable of more than just rebounding. So when you really let your body settle in, you decide how much force you're going to use out of the ground. As it pertains to the timing thing that I talked about, the challenge is getting your racket to line up with the ball when your body's actually actively changing levels from down here to up here. So if I was to wait down at this position, I would assume the ball is going to be here. I'm actually going to push up through quite a few different strike zones and strike the ball at some point in there. That's where the difficulty in timing this can occur until you become comfortable with it. Then it just becomes second nature. But if I use the ball machine, when you load down into these positions, pushing up isn't inherently difficult. It's about how fast you use it. So when you start really unloading into it, it can become challenging pushing up and then moving the ball like that. So, again, not super complicated to understand, but at the same time, it does take a lot of practice to really work the timing in. And you don't have to launch yourself super hard, but again, your contact is usually here, but as you push up, you're pushing through a bunch of different levels. It's kind of the same concept as like the different types of collisions that you could have with a car accident. A T-bone is way tougher to time than like a rear end collision because you're on the same path for longer versus having one thing moving this way and another thing moving this way. When you use your legs and really load up, you're changing the plane that you're swinging on, but the ball's staying on a horizontal plane. So you just want to be aware of the difficulties that come along with it, but it's not something that takes it out of your skill level. It just means you have to practice it more. So let's get on to the other one. So the other one that we did was hinges, or being able to increase your acceleration by use of the hinges in your body. When you use the different hinges, basically all we're doing is taking a part of your body that can move very stiff and changing it to something that can move very loose by just adding more segments. As I said in the first video, if I move my shoulder like this, that's the fastest my arm can move. Like, I can move it fast, but there's a certain point where my shoulder is exerting as much speed as possible. However, if I bend my elbow in there, this hinge now doubles the speed of the thing that's beyond it. My shoulder is still moving at the same speed, but as I move my elbow, my hand becomes faster. And if there was something in my hand, like a racket, if I was to add my hand motion in there, now you've got a multiplier from the shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist to make the racket head move faster. And it works its way backwards. From the leg drive that we did in the first part, your legs move, your torso moves, your shoulder moves, elbow moves, and the wrist moves. You just add all these different multiplying hinges to create a lot more racket speed out of basically nothing. You didn't get stronger from one thing to the other. You just stack the momentum on top of each other. It's basically like if you had a bunch of engines that could only go 30 miles per hour. But if you multiply what they're moving, so you put an engine in a car, it only drives 30 miles an hour. But then you have another engine that moves something else that moves the car. Now, so let's say like a moving sidewalk. You put an engine that moves the moving sidewalk, 30 miles per hour. The car didn't get faster, but now the car's moving 60 because two things are moving. I know, kind of a exaggerated explanation, but the concept's still the same. You don't get faster, you just increase what is moving fast. So the hand is moving fast because the elbow is moving the same speed as the shoulder, but they're moving together. Just make sure you understand that in order to practice this one, it's timing. I've seen people that swing really loose, get all that acceleration, and then they meet the ball at the last second. You want to make sure that everything loosens up at the right time so you can multiply the speed through your contact rather than multiplying your speed in the beginning and then being stiff at your contact. It's a super easy concept, but again, gotta go out and practice it. And lastly, let's go back to the swing length. I felt like this was the simplest one, but at the same time, I want to make sure I cover all three. If you're swinging at maximum speed, whatever your maximum speed is, but you're not swinging perfectly horizontal, you are actually not swinging through the ball as fast as you can, just by nature of angle. If I'm swinging more vertical, that means I'm going less through. If I'm swinging 90 degrees up, no matter how fast it is, I'm not hitting anything fast that way. Likewise, if I'm swinging 100% this way, I'm not creating any rotation on the upward part of it. A lot of people feel like they need to swing faster, and for some of you, you're actually going as fast as you can, but your racket path is a thing that's actually causing you the problems. If you take a moderate swing, which I'm going to do here, I'm going to use 50% swing speed, but I'm going to swing up. If I take a moderate swing speed and just send the ball like that, it's not a bad swing. It's nothing fancy. Again, not using any real energy or force, but if I take my swing and level it out, same amount of racket speed, but timing. Same amount of racket speed, but at the same time, way more force without really changing much. You can take this concept and do it at any level, whether you're a 80-year-old person that has limited mobility, or if you're a junior player trying to generate more power to hit more winners, just swing out toward the court instead of such a big drop and then picking up. Even if you are a fast swinger, fast swinging in the wrong direction, you can't generate that type of force. Drop shot. So that's going to wrap this one up, guys. Like I said, it was not meant to be super lengthy. It was just meant to go in depth and explain stuff a little bit more. Hopefully you guys feel like that cleared up some things. Send this video to somebody if they had any questions, but we will see you guys in the next one.